So, Mike, as we kind of look to the Bills offense now, and you see a efficient 13-3 score at halftime, I would say they did what they needed to do. Josh took a lot of checkdowns in the first half. I think I read as many as 26 times he threw under 10 yards. So he was taking the check down yesterday, just got impatient frequently and didn't want to continue to do what was working for him. Some early stats have come out now on Josh Allen. Fifth in yards expected over completion percentage, as well as 10th in EPA. So those numbers are always going to pop. And that's what analytics nerds are going to always point to when they talk about Josh Allen, because those are the numbers that back up what he does. Now, I'm going to bounce it to you and this performance of Josh Allen, and we're going to go with that for a little bit. We're going to put a 5-minute segment on this. We're not going to monopolize it. Bills have to look forward to the Raiders game. They need to get right. Where you stand so far after the 13-3 lead lost in the third and fourth quarters into an overtime?
So I'll let you be Mr. Nice Guy, and I'll be the mean guy on the show today. I thought first half Josh was efficient. He played within the system. Obviously, he had the one long bomb interception. He wanted to go for it. You look at the film, probably would have been a better decision to tuck it and run. Would have faced the guy a few yards short, but 9 out of 10 times he probably breaks the tackle or eludes the defender, gets it for a first down. But overall, in the first half, he played within the system. He made the checkdowns. He made the throws that were expected to him. I said going into this game, look out for the tight ends, look out for Deontay Hardy, and look out for the running game. That's what they were trying to do in the first half. Now, did they have a ton of success? No, they had 13 points, but they had over 180 yards, and they were taking what the Jets were giving them early on. I wish that Deontay Hardy could have gotten a little bit more involved, but they obviously did try to get him in the passing game in the first quarter. Now, everything changed after halftime. When you're up 13-3 and you're playing a Jets team with Zach Wilson that has shown that is incapable, really, of moving the ball at a high rate. Yes, they had the one drive in the second half where they go down, they score a touchdown following the interception. You really just need to protect the ball. You just punt it the rest of the game, and you probably win the game. The Bills were dominating, up 13-3, and I don't know what it is about Josh Allen's mindset and what was going through his head last night, but the fact that he can't understand that as one of the elite quarterbacks in the game in his 6th year in Buffalo is baffling to me. It's honestly baffling, because they could have just handed the ball off the rest of the game and they probably hold on to win. It's to the point now where I know people don't like the turnover prone label, because if you look at it, you can point out maybe it's a volume basis thing. But these situational mistakes are they're confusing. They have started to add up over the years, and they are unacceptable. You look at all the Bills' losses last year. They were all games in which Josh had a turnover for the most part in horrible moments. The loss against Miami early in the year last year, Josh had an interception within the Bills' own 20-yard line, led to a Miami touchdown. Then they had a turnover on downs where he bounced the pass on 4th down. The loss to Minnesota, the fumble in the quarterback sneak territory, then the interception late where he didn't read the coverage. The loss against the Jets last year against Zach Wilson, a throw into double coverage where he just didn't see the extra defender. You look at the games against Miami in the playoffs where turnovers almost let the Dolphins stay in the game. Josh is tremendous. You mentioned his EPA. Even when he's having poor games, the Bills still had a 73% chance DVOA and these other metrics to win the contest. So they were still expected to win in spite of his turnovers. And people keep saying stuff like, well, if he just doesn't make those 2 throws, it would have been a good game for him. And I'm not too worried. That's what I hear a lot of people saying. The problem is it's year 6 and he's still making these throws. He's still making these decisions. The first interception, like I said, if you want to call it a punt, it's fine. But he could have ran for the first down if he would have taken it. The second interception was clearly a case of he saw pressure and he's like, screw it. I'm just going to throw it downfield. That's as clear as the second interception was. Screw it. Quinnen Williams is in my face. I'm going to throw it. Third interception, he has Diggs and Kincaid both underneath. Easy first down. You're under 10 minutes left to go in the game. That's a game-changing interception. You get the first down, you can continue to milk clock. You're winning that contest. And then the fumble immediately after the Jets score a touchdown. That's when you have that fumble. And it's bad enough. I understand, like, he botched the snap. But at that moment in time, don't play hero ball. Fall on the ball. The odds of you scooping it up and then having a productive run after it. I know he's done things like that in the past. The odds are not good. So just play a little bit safer. I guess I'm getting to the point right now, and I'll be done with this in a second, Kev. I think Josh Allen's amazing. He's obviously one of the top 3 quarterbacks in football. Some people will say number 2. Other people will say number 3. But what I am frustrated with Josh is while a Patrick Mahomes can play within the system Kansas City gives him, and he's a freak athlete, and while Burrow is more of a system quarterback who has tremendous playmakers, I get this feel that the Bills are trying to force a system on Josh, and that Josh can only be himself if he's playing outside of the system. Josh needs to improv. Josh needs to run. He plays on instinct. And instinct is great when it's working. But when you make these stupid plays, those are the plays that cost your team. And in the long run, the Bills are going to be fine. I still think they're going to win the AFC East. I still think they have a chance to make a run in the playoffs. But this needs to stop, Kevin. This is not just one game or 2 games. This is a trend. He needs to improve. He's a 6-year quarterback.
Well, lots of breakdown there, Mike. If you look at it from a perspective of like all those things in a vacuum, I agree with. Like, I agree that he needs to not, he could run for that first down on the first interception. That's absolutely true. The second time, pressure in his face, throws it deep. Coach should have probably just taken the sack, figured out something what to do there in that situation. Number 3, turnover. Could be debated. I don't like the route Gabe Davis ran, and it led to the questions about receiver 2 today to Sean McDermott, who then says they need more out of receiver. Cut his route short. He's made that play against Baltimore many times to Dawson Knox. You've seen them win on that against the Ravens and the Chiefs last year on that exact route. The safety ran it better than Gabe Davis did. And then in the fourth was the one that was the backbreaker, the fumble. That wasn't a decision-making error in terms of like he threw some wild pass that was snap came in early, wasn't ready for it, tried to corral it. The move there was to just sit on it, right? So the move there was to just land on it, live to fight another down. You punt it away at some point in that drive. Now you're in a 2nd and 16 against the Jets defense. Do they go down and kick a winning field goal anyways without giving you an opportunity? So I get the mindset of like, I'm Josh Allen, I'm going to pick it up. It just didn't work out there. The fumble was botched. I think it was, you could blame that on many people on that. I don't know that was a bumbling mistake other than that the snap came in early. You've seen it across the league. You've seen it across football from high school to pros. It just was a mistimed cadence. You saw the motion come across. Everyone asked for motion, but that's what you get with motion. It throws off the center occasionally. Saw the motion come in, cause the snap. Josh Allen was probably thinking of a different cadence there. Something happened. Don't know. Slipped through, hit his face mask, picked it back up. His idea was to limit damage. It wasn't to get a 40-yard run. It was to get back to the line of scrimmage, 2nd and 10, and go from there. But it just didn't work out in that situation. But that one was backbreaking in terms of what happened there. Anyways, Mike, as you look forward, all you can hope for if some of those plays continue to be cleaned up, and we have seen stretches of that happening. He cleans it up. It doesn't usually stay a long-term trend. You can point back to his last, I guess there's stats floating around, this many games, the last 6 games, he's done this and that. People include total fumbles, not fumbles lost, in situations where cover one's done a good job breaking down each and every one of those fumbles. They're not all created equal. Some of them are misexchanged. Some of them are Isaiah McKenzie fumbling a pitch. Some of them are, missed snaps where he picks up and does run for a touchdown when it was never really in danger to be picked up. Some are knocked out of bounds as he's stepping out of bounds. They're not all created equal, not in a wide receiver 50-50 split on fumbles. So, there's a lot of fumbles that are included into those overall turnover numbers that might not be fumbles lost. So you got to break down that and the amount the Bills throw, the amount they have the ball, the amount of points they score. and the lack of punts that they generally have are never factored. So the fact that if you factor in punts, which are a calculated turnover, as we see in arm punt, as we saw in the first interception, it's the same thing in football world. So whether you credit it to Josh Allen or you punt it away, that just goes to your punter. So the Bills are actually obviously lead the league in amount of punts. So I think there's a lack of amount of punts. So I think there's something to always remember, that there's calculated turnovers. There's things you can do. This is Josh Allen. It's who he is. What are you going to go up and say to him? He knows he shouldn't have thrown that ball. There's nothing you fight. You could fire. So there's options here. You can fire your coaching staff. You can, you can move away from the quarterback. You can bench him. I don't really know where you're going to go. There's no solution to the problem. It is what it is. He's going to have turnovers in a football game, and they're going to win other games because of who he is as a player, just like he was able to do in Detroit on Thanksgiving, making ridiculous plays. You kind of have to live with it. So the amount he carries, the amount he throws.
I understand, Kev, what you're saying, and you are speaking truth. Like, there isn't really a solution to the problem, because you're not going to bench him. You're not going to get rid of him. Obviously, he's an elite quarterback still. And really to blame it all on the offensive coordinator or the coaching staff is kind of irresponsible too, because they're giving Josh the play. They're coaching things up. If Josh isn't going to utilize the underneath route as coached, that's not on the offensive coordinator. That's on the quarterback. And ultimately, you kind of have to live with it. I know a lot of people over the past night into today have been commenting, well, they need a guy like Brian Dable that's going to really reel him in and get him to play within himself. I don't think that's really a true thing. I know people are saying, well, get Ken Dorsey on the sidelines. Dorsey might be a guy where he sees the things better from up above, and that's where he feels more comfortable at. Some coordinators are going to be scheme guys, and they're going to be guys that want to see what's happening, and other coordinators might be more people coaches. Brian Dable had an ability to relate a little bit better to Josh and was able to, at times, I guess, reel him in. But that was also a much younger Josh Allen that he inherited in his second season, and was a developing quarterback at that point. Josh Allen in 2018, 2019, that was not the same version of Josh Allen that we see today. So it was okay for Brian Dable to basically get pissed off on him in the sideline and basically and do that type of stuff. How many offensive coordinators coming in are going to be able to reel Josh in? I just don't think that number is that high. At some point, I think it's the responsibility of the quarterback to run the offense the way it's supposed to be run. And I think for most of the game, he was doing his best to do it early on. But at the end of the day, you got to trust your eyes and you have to trust your reads. And I think the biggest takeaway I took out of the second half was that Josh was losing faith in his offensive line, and that created an uncomfortable Josh in the pocket. There was times that he had guys where he double clutched with the ball in his hand, where he didn't make the throw when it was timed to make the throw, where he ended up going for a run when he had a person that he could have thrown it to. So ultimately, if Josh is uncomfortable with the offensive line, or he's uncomfortable with the scheme, the Bills are going to have to make adjustments, because this is the line he's going to have in front of him all year. And while they're not going to be playing the Jets defensive front seven every week, there are going to be other difficult matchups. And we can't just be making this excuse every time the Bills play a solid front seven that, well, you know what, they were getting pressure on Josh. Ultimately, he has to trust what's in front of him.